Hello, welcome to Pasture Forest Flock. What we're doing here is we're digging trenches to start a garden. In this particular garden here, we have clay soil. This is how you know that you have clay soil. Just pick it up here. When you pick some soil, you have some soil in your hand, and you're able to mold it like Play-Doh, and it's thick, you know you have clay soil. Usually it's red, okay? And what this does is clay soil is very high in nutrients. However, there's some problems if you just have clay soil because it's so thick that it doesn't prevent your roots for your vegetables and the plants that you're planting to expand deep into the soil. And also, it's not very good for drainage. So you have to amend the soil. So what we're doing is we're digging the trench at least 8 inches. At least 8 inches deep. If you can dig deeper, it's better. So I'll have Melshara take over from now.
Well, as Marlo has said to you, we just dug the trench and it's about a little bit over 8 inches. And you want to do it that deep because you want to be able to have the roots expand. So what we're going to do right now, as far as amending the soil, we have some peat moss here. And peat moss will actually help break up the clay a little bit, okay? So we poured some of this peat moss into the trench here. I'm just going to kind of do like half the bag. Just put it through. You want to do about maybe 2 to 3 inches of this peat moss in here. Okay. Now what we do, we actually going to take a pitchfork. And with this pitchfork, the clay that we dug out, we're going to start adding a little bit at a time to it. And as we're adding this into the peat moss, we're going to begin to start mixing it in.
Yeah, you can start mixing it in.
Okay. And to make it easier for myself, what I do, I try to pretend that this is like making bread, stirring the dough. So, you know, you're mixing it, and you're mixing it thoroughly. And then as you get it, you're kind of going to want to add some more of the clay soil into it. You want to try not to put a lot of clumps in. See this clay? I mean, it's like Play-Doh. This will not yield anything in your garden. So we don't want to do that.
Want to use some of the crumbly stuff.
Yeah. Let's see, a real clumpy. Okay, just start mixing that, Judy. And as you can see, this is a family affair here. So we all get busy and do this work. Okay.
Now, of course, if you had a rototiller, it would help you. And it'll make the job a lot more easier on your body. However, we also have to learn how to do it like this, how to do it by hand, because we know when we can't buy or sell, we're not going to be able to depend upon gas for your rototiller.
And one of the other things too, why it may be actually easier to do it this way, if you actually do rent a rototiller, it's harder to deal with this clay soil. May get clumped up in the tines of the rototiller. So everywhere I've read, it's recommended to use a pitchfork. So pitchfork and shovels. It's a little easier to maneuver than with a rototiller. Okay, so once we get a good amount of this clay soil back in here, we continue to mix it, we're going to add some compost to it. So let's just...
And this we're about to add is actually composted cow manure. So it'll turn this clay soil into something good.
And you have to really mix this stuff good. I mean, I guess as you can see, the clay soil that we did put in here is actually starting to break it up a little bit. So,
Where you put that in?
I think so. No, she's ready.
yeah. See how this broke up the clay that was over here?
Oh yeah, that did it nicely.
It's a little bit more crumbly now.
Look at that.
So,
Makes it into loam, right?
yeah, for the most part. But we're not quite finished. So now we're gonna add this compost in here, and we're just gonna continue to mix. So this is the next ingredient. Again, I try to think of it like making bread. I could probably use about half that bag on here. Okay, and again, just mix it up. And believe it or not, most soil is actually clay soil. And this is something, you know, to build up your soil, it's something that has to be done every year. Even if you think you have decent soil, you're still gonna have to add nutrients, because once your plants and everything and your vegetables that you grow, they're gonna take the nutrients that's needed for them to grow healthy food. So every year you gotta add compost and things to your garden. It's just that we, because of this clay soil, we really have to do a lot more. So by God's grace, and it's only by His grace, we'll have a good yield this year. So this is how you can deal with clay soil.